This is the most important river you have never heard of. It feeds 65 million people, and it is being weaponized. This is what the river looks like now. This is not natural. China built this, 11 of them. Nobody downstream was asked. Every dam a valve, every valve a weapon, aimed at 6 countries. Left, China, full river. Right, downstream, nothing. Satellites caught them doing it. 126 meters of water, deliberately held back. Fish gone, rice dead. And the people downstream have no legal recourse. This is the Mekong, and China controls every drop that leaves its territory. The Mekong begins on the Tibetan Plateau at 5,000 meters. It falls through Chinese gorges, crosses 6 countries, and empties into the South China Sea. Along the way, it built a civilization. It is the world's largest inland fishery. 1.3 million tons of fish every year, valued at $11 billion. For the people here, it is not a resource, it is everything. In Cambodia, the river connects to the Tonle Sap, the largest inland fishery on the planet. Every monsoon, the Mekong floods so powerfully, it reverses the river flow and expands the lake to 6 times its normal size. The fish that breed in the flooded lake migrate back through the Mekong in the largest migration of living beings on Earth. Those fish become prahok, the fermented paste that is the foundation of Cambodian cuisine. The national currency is named after the fish that make it. In Vietnam, the delta is where most of the country's rice grows. Annual flooding deposits the sediment that fertilizes those paddies. Rice production grew 40% between 2000 and 2014. Then the dams arrived. By 2020, it had declined 10%. 75% of the lower basin's population relies directly on this river. There is no alternative. There is no other river. There is no substitute for what the annual flood pulse has built over 10,000 years. In 1993, China broke ground on the first dam on the upper Mekong. Downstream countries were not consulted. There was no law requiring them to be. The Nuo Zadu Dam, completed in 2012, is the largest of 11 Chinese dams on the upper Mekong. Its reservoir holds as much water as the Chesapeake Bay. By 2020, China had built 12 megadams on the main river and 85 more on its tributaries. Every fish migration route in the upper basin blocked. China classified all water flow data on its section of the river as a state secret. For 30 years, downstream countries managed a river whose upstream conditions they could not see. Analysts called it hydrohegemony, unilateral control of a shared river used as diplomatic leverage. The term was theoretical until 2019. Then, China funded dams downstream. Laos accepted Chinese loans to build 140 hydropower projects. The dam network extended on Chinese terms, in every direction. In 2020, a research group called Eyes on Earth found a way to see what China was doing with its dams without China's cooperation, using satellites. Their model compared natural historical river flow against actual gauge data at the Thai-Chinese border. Over 28 years, 126 meters of river height were missing. In 2019, China received normal to above average rainfall upstream, but for 5 consecutive months, its dams held back more water than ever. Downstream, the worst drought in recorded history. At Chiang Sai in Thailand, the first gauge point after the river exits China, Something was recorded that had never happened before. For 5 months, the annual monsoon rise did not come. The Tonle Sap Lake experienced an 88% collapse in fish population. Fish harvests across the lower basin declined 30%. Cambodia losing $326 million every single year. In Vietnam, reduced river flow allowed seawater to push inland through the delta channels. The soil that grew rice for centuries turned to salt. For a decade, the Mekong has run backwards. High flows during dry season, low flows during wet season. The opposite of every natural pattern the river has followed for 10,000 years. In March 2016, Vietnam's rice region was in severe drought. China released water for humanitarian reasons. 1 week later, Premier Li Keqiang hosted 5 downstream countries at a diplomatic meeting in Sanya. 5 countries signed Belt Road investment deals. The water was turned on as a diplomatic gesture. The investment agreements were signed in its wake. What China presented as humanitarian relief was timed to a meeting where it needed 5 signatures. China then extended the trap downstream. Chinese companies built the dams. Chinese banks provided the loans. Countries that accepted now have Chinese debt on a Chinese-controlled river. The leverage runs in every direction. The control works in both directions. In 2024, unexpected dam releases caused sudden flood rises in Thailand. Communities downstream had no warning. On July 19, 2025, China broke ground on the Motuo Dam on the Yarlung Sangpo River in Tibet. $167 billion, 60,000 megawatts, triple the capacity of 3 gorges, the largest dam ever built in human history. After Tibet, the river becomes the Brahmaputra. It flows through India's northeast states, then into Bangladesh. The river system provides 65% of Bangladesh's total national water supply. India reacted with immediate alarm. Analysts describe the dam as giving China a switch over northeast India's water supply. Bangladesh formally requested details from China about the Motuo Dam in February 2025. China provided no official response. In April 2025, India suspended the Indus Waters Treaty, a 1960 agreement that had survived wars and coups. It guaranteed Pakistan water from 3 rivers. Pakistan's Prime Minister called the suspension an act of war.
The Indus Waters Treaty of 1960 will be held in abeyance with immediate effect until Pakistan credibly and irrevocably abjures its support for cross-border terrorism.
India accelerated its own dam construction upstream as a buffer. Bangladesh called it a dam for a dam race. Each country building upstream to counter the country above it. The people downstream of everyone pay the price. There is no international law preventing an upstream country from damming a shared river. The UN Watercourses Convention has been ratified by 36 countries. China has not signed it. India has not signed it. Neither is bound by anything. The Mekong River Commission has 4 member countries. China is not one of them. China attends as a dialogue partner. It cannot be compelled to share data, cannot be compelled to alter releases. The Commission can only ask. In February 2026, a published analysis reached a precise conclusion. Rivers are now battlefields. The Mekong, the Brahmaputra, the Indus, the Nile. Same dynamic every time. Upstream country builds, downstream country loses. China controls the Tibetan Plateau, the water tower of Asia, the source of the Mekong, the Brahmaputra, the Yellow River, the Yangtze. 2 billion people in Asia depend on rivers that begin in Chinese-controlled territory. No country in history has held this position. 65 million people depend on the lower Mekong. They did not vote for China's dam program. They were not consulted. The Mekong still flows. The fish are still there, diminished but not gone. The rice is still grown, but the river that exists today is not the river that existed 30 years ago. The people on this river did not build the dams. They cannot negotiate the treaties. They have no seat at the table. They are downstream in every sense of the word. The story of the Mekong is no longer only the Mekong. The same strategy is documented on the Brahmaputra. The system that governs shared rivers has no answer when the upstream country is powerful enough to ignore it. A river does not recognize borders. The water that falls on the Tibetan plateau becomes the fish in a Cambodian child's bowl. The world has not built a system equal to that reality, and 65 million people are living in the gap.